In Chicago, you know that all sports rock. The Bears, Hawks, Bulls, Cubs, and Sox. Pick your favorite, you can choose. As long as the Packers lose. For everything you need to know, it's Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago. Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago.
Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Bill's Swerski Sports Talk Chicago. This is your hosts, Alex and Sean. On this episode, we are going to be talking about the Bears' final moves before the NFL draft, spring training wrapping up, getting ready for the regular season, World Baseball Classic being done, and Little Blackhawks. But first, I'd like to thank sponsor the Rockford Ice Hogs. If you're not familiar with the Rockford Ice Hogs, they're the AHL minor league affiliate of the Chicago Blackhawks. What does that mean for you? You get to see the stars of tomorrow today at family-friendly, affordable prices. The season is going on right now, so make sure you head on over to icehogs.com. Get yourself a hat, shirt, jersey, tickets, and more. Tell them Swerski Sports sent you. Alex, my friend, how are you doing today?
Well, I was doing a lot better yesterday when the weather was really, really good. It's kind of depressing going back to cold and rainy, but it was a good day to go to the movies, which I did, so I guess I can't be too upset about that part.
Yeah. I was in Louisville, Kentucky, until this afternoon, and it was 85 degrees. So, I had a sweatshirt on because it was a little chilly when I left on Saturday morning. And I was like, okay. And then when I got there, I was like, oh man, I got to take this off. It's sweating. It's hot.
Yeah, I'd rather feel that than cold at this point, truly.
Yeah. Um, so, um, where do you want to start first?
Well, baseball is about to get underway. And as we're speaking right now, I have a spreadsheet up and I'm going to try to actively throughout update this spreadsheet. It's a spreadsheet of the Cubs active roster. So I'm going to have a tab for active 26 man, IL, 40 man, and minor league depth because a lot of the times when I write about the Cubs or I talk about them online and we're talking about like what their status is, how many options they have, blah, blah, blah instead of just having to click around, I like to just reference it in one sheet. So that's kind of what I'm working on. And I figured, as I work on this while we talk, it'll be a good place to kind of discuss where we think this roster is going to be on opening day. Because as we're talking right now, and by the time you're listening to this, everything might be set in place, but there's a few spots not quite filled out, which are going to get filled out any moment now. So I think that it's pretty clear what 99% of this roster is going to be.
So we know Seiya will not be playing in the first series of the season. Has he that did they move him to IR, or are they just going to let him have the roster spot and then
Well, I think that's what they got to decide. I mean, if it just put him on the IL. If you put him on the 10-day IL and he's confident and you're confident that he's going to be okay after that, just put him on the freaking IL. I hate when the Cubs do that thing where it's like, oh, well, we'll just keep him active. We'll see. No reason to play shorthanded if you don't. The knee injury, the PCL sprain is a very, very good update to get because we were worried for a lot worse. It ended up being minor. We knew he was probably not going to be ready for opening day regardless, but I just see no benefit of playing a man down, even if you think he's going to be ready within 5 days after the season. Just put him on the IL, which I think they're going to do. I really think they're going to do it.
yeah, I mean it's if you know he's not gonna play, then save yourself a roster spot for somebody that actually will. Like, don't leave yourself shorthanded.
Yeah, and I mean, you don't want to rush him either, because, knee injuries can be tricky, obviously, and, you don't want anything to get re-aggravated. And let's be real, Seiya, you look at the total games played over his career, it's not like he's missed hundreds of games, but he does go through these nagging injuries every season, and he has missed some time. And, he's going to miss some time already. You just don't want that to be prolonged by any stretch.
Right. And we know him playing the outfield is going to make him more susceptible to injuries than when he's just DHing. And so don't rush him back just to have that knee injury get aggravated, or have him being playing gingerly because of the knee and it ends up causing a hamstring or something.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, look, you're going to have plenty of outfielders on the roster. So it is not ideal for him to be hurt for a while. But if you have to get through 2 weeks, more or less, I think you can handle it.
Yeah. But with that, Michael Conforto made the opening day roster.
Which I expected, even if Suzuki wasn't hurt. I thought that Conforto was going to make this roster. And I'm not going to say bang the drum on Michael Conforto rebound by any means. He could be just cooked. It was a bad season last year. But if you do look at some of the metrics, like some of the numbers that you see on MLB Statcast, some of the underlying numbers, you will see that he perf based on, take this as you will, based on some of the quality of contact, that he performed a little bit better than what the final results showed. And he is still very good at drawing walks. He does not chase outside the zone a lot. His bat speed is still pretty good too. And if you look at like expected WOBA, which is weighted on base, and then you have like expected slug and a few of those other offensive stats, you look at what some of the expected numbers were and you compare them to real numbers, you're like, okay, those are a little better. And if you look at the percentiles for a lot of those, they're kind of in that mid-ish range where you're like, okay, it's not great, but it's not awful either. So I'm not going to hear and say, oh, they're going to rebound all those numbers and he's going to have a really good season. But I do think it is kind of an interesting bench depth piece to have. Just based on his resume, he is a left-handed power bat that can draw walks, which is, a nice thing to have in my opinion.
There's worse things to have.
Yeah, and if he stinks, you cut him. I don't know how long he's going to be here. I'm sure a lot of that will depend on how he plays. And obviously, even when Seiya comes back, it's still a depth guy to have. And, right field is interesting because it feels like Shaw is going to be the regular out there. And Moises Ballesteros, who we also know is going to be making the roster, is going to be your DH when he plays. Maybe he catches a tiny bit. He did get some time there in spring training, but you already have two established catchers for now. Miguel Amaya, he tends to get hurt a lot. So as long as Amaya and Carson Kelly are healthy, they're going to be your catching tandem. But I mean, the way I see it is if you're looking between Moises Ballesteros and Matt Shaw, I think Matt Shaw, there's a tough lefty on the mound. You play Matt Shaw for that lefty righty matchup. And if there's a solid righty on the mound or you just feel better about the matchup with Ballesteros as the DH, you let him play, you let Shaw play right, and then when Seiya comes back, you kind of figure that all out. So there's going to be some moving parts here, and maybe you decide Conforto is going to play if there's a righty on the mound in right with Shaw on the bench. So there's a lot of different directions you could kind of go there right now.
What do you think? I mean, will Alcantara make this roster? And if not, why not?
I think if it's why not, which is what I'm leaning towards, I could be wrong, but he's got an option left and he's just not going to get regular playing time based on what we think is going to happen. I mean, if you would have said, hey, Matt Shaw is going to the bench and Kevin Alcantara is just going to be your right fielder until Suzuki comes back, oh, I guess, but doesn't it seem like they're talking up Matt Shaw a lot more in the outfield?
Yes.
That's what I'm getting. That's the vibe I'm getting. So, do you really want Kevin Alcantara just rotting on the bench? I don't. I'd rather have him get at bats every day at this point.
He just earned a spot. I feel bad for him.
No, I mean he had an overall nice spring. I get it. I mean, maybe. Because you look at some of the other depth you potentially have. Dylan Carlson is part of this mix. He's one of those veteran outfielders you brought in. Chas McCormick is one of those guys. And I guess the other question too is, are you just going to carry a bunch of outfielders? Because they sent Jonathan Long back to the minors. That was a guy I thought could make the opening day roster. A 24-year-old prospect. He's hit at every level in the minors. He had a really good spring training. He plays corner infield. So it's like, hey, there's kind of your platoon option if you need it on some of the infield, and if you need another bat to maybe pinch hit and take over for an infielder. But he's in the minors right now, so it doesn't look like that's going to happen. I just wonder how they're going to deal with all the outfielders. Are you going to have Chas McCormick make it? Is a guy like Owen Miller, who can be that righty platoon to Bush at first, an option? Maybe because Tyler Austin is hurt. Those are kind of the few things I'm going through my head here.
Yeah. I mean, nothing, can't argue with anything. You also going to see Justin Steele start the season on the probably the 60-day. Um,
Hopefully he's back
I mean,
early June.
I'm hearing late May, early June.
Yeah, I mean, I always like to be a bit more conservative. When they say late May, I like to think it's probably going to be early June. But we'll see. It just seems like that range is, as long as everything goes right, that range of late May, early June is where I think we're all having our targets set right now for him, for the outlook of the rotation in the roster.
Yeah, and honestly, it at that point, you probably have somebody getting hurt or needing some days, and him stepping in there gives you a little boost. Um, so I'm just hoping he comes back and looks strong. That's what I care about.
Yeah, and I mean, there is a little bit of a grace period, I think, when he comes back, understanding that I'm not expecting him to return and throw 7 shutout innings in his first start.
No,
There's going to
eight.
be that realistic
Eight.
building. Oh, okay, 8. Okay, I'll pencil you down for that.
Write it down. Sean said 8 scoreless.
If he does that, I'll buy you pizza. Like, I will buy you pizza. And I know it's not going to happen, so I won't be buying you pizza. But if it does happen, I'll buy you pizza. I might even put a little Greedo figurine on it just for you.
Um, so did you see the comments from the manager about Ballesteros and basically telling the hitting coaches don't touch anything he does?
I love it.
I That makes me excited. That makes me think that they think he gets it.
They're very bullish on him. If you listen to what the Cubs executives say, you listen to what Craig Counsell says, they're very, very bullish on Ballesteros. And it kind of reminds me, even though I'm not exactly comparing them as the same players, but Javier Baez, when he played under Joe Madden, what did Joe Madden always say about Javi?
Let Javi be Javi.
Yes. So, one thing that drives me crazy, especially in this city, how many times have we seen it where a team in the city will try to pigeonhole a guy who has a lot of talent into something he's not?
I
Happens a
mean,
lot.
it's true. Um, so I like that they have confidence in him. Hopefully, he has confidence in himself, and is able to come up here and start the season strong. I know young players, it's a long season. There's going to be peaks and valleys.
Oh, yeah.
It's Hopefully he starts at a peak because that makes the valleys a lot easier to swallow. When you start off in a valley, that really hurts your confidence, makes it harder to bounce back from. You don't have a frame of reference of being successful at this level.
No, absolutely. And when you think about a young player like Ballesteros, is they had a little bit of that taste in the majors. And I'm not just referencing Ballesteros. When I say they, I mean other young players that we've had in years past. Obviously, not every single player has taken the same path, but you remember Javier Baez. It was a bigger sample than Ballesteros, but remember late 2014 when he came up, he got a little bit of that taste. Same thing with Jorge Soler back in the day. Uh,
Hmm.
P. Crow Armstrong just a few years ago got that little taste at the end of 2023 for the first time. So, Moises Ballesteros has gotten that little taste, not a big sample size, but a little taste. So the fact that, they could come in and they can say, we've had a little bit of this taste, Moises Ballesteros falls kind of within that category. This isn't a completely new game to him. With that said, baseball is a huge game of adjustments and counter adjustments. So he's still a rookie. The sample he got last year wasn't quite as big as, say, the ones Javi got and Jorge Soler got at the end of 2014. So yeah, it would not surprise me to see him start off really hot, and then there's counter adjustments, and then there's a little bit of a struggle period. Hopefully he stays hot in addition to the reason you just said, but also because you're not going to have Seiya Suzuki. So DH is kind of important. You need production from that DH spot. So you
I,
hope that he can produce.
I'm going to read you a stat line.
Hmm.
You tell me if you'd be happy with it, or if you think it's not good enough, or right on, or if it's too high. Bat a slash line 264, 327, 400 with 10 home runs.
Need more slug. You need more slug from that spot. I don't think 400 is a high enough slug from a DH.
And what considering it's a rookie season at age 22, what's a slash line you're happy with?
The average in the OBP, I can live with. I want that slug to be 50, 60 points higher.
Okay.
At least. At least. I'm not asking for 500 plus. I'm not saying go out there and hit 290 with a 360 plus OBP. I think that like a 330 OBP, because what you said 327, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like if you're around 330, I'll take that. You're between 260, 270, 280, fine. I just don't think that a 400 slug is quite high enough. If you give me a 450 slug, I think that's a different story. And I get it. He's a rookie, and maybe it's more realistic to expect that. I just think if he's going to play a lot of DH, it's just such an important position. And maybe things change when he's batting just in certain situations. Suzuki's healthy, he's DHing more, and Matt Shaw's manning right field or whoever the hell is out there. So, things can switch and turn around, which can change the circumstances a little bit. I'm just looking at Moises Ballesteros right now through the lens of a regular DH, which is what he's going to be when the season starts.
His slash line in AAA last year was 316, 385, 473.
That's pretty darn good.
Um, I don't know what to expect from him.
It's hard to actually know what to expect.
Yeah, I have a feeling we're gonna see a batting average by the end of the season that's so that line I read, the 264, 327, 400. I think I think that slug might be a little higher than that, but it's going to be lower than you want. I think that average and the on base are going to be a higher than that. I
Okay, that's fair.
I think we're going to see him grow into that power probably starting next season. Um, I think the power, some of that slug is going to be as he gets more comfortable with major league pitching. But I think you're going to see that talent. I'm looking probably at 275, 340,
Okay.
but maybe
I mean, I'd
four
take that.
ten slugging. It's still going to be low on the slug, but I think you're going to see him with a good contact rate, and um, I'm going to go out with like a 17% K rate, 8 to 9% walk rate.
Okay. I mean, that's okay. If you give me that and like a 420 slug, I will be more than happy with that.
That
410,
that's
420.
that's what I'm hoping, and I think you're gonna see it in bursts, not consistent. I think just it's so hard to expect a ton from a 22-year-old rookie. We're gonna see those moments where he struggles, and it's gonna be interesting to see how Craig Counsell handles when he goes into those valleys.
Yeah. No, I get it. I think that's fair. Yes, I mean it is a lot of pressure for a kid who's only 22, and I don't want to make it sound like I'm going to hold his feet to the fire or anything. I just, if you're looking for ideal DH production, you got to look at it through that lens too. But like I said, he's not going to be the only DH on this team. When Seiya does come back, he's definitely going to be doing some DHing, and then heck, maybe you might see Alex Bregman DH a little bit and have Shaw play some third, just with him aging a little bit, and you keep him a bit fresher.
Heard it here first. Alex is going to be holding Moises Ballesteros' feet to the Marty Havlat crock pot. Give me them toes. Blah, 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 blah.
Ew. Oh,
Uh,
Lord.
um, let's see. Did we talk about World Baseball Classic?
No, not really. At least, we haven't talked since the finale and the final stretch of tournament games.
I'm happy the way it turned out. I'm really happy for Venezuela. They came and they played hard. They overcame a lot of obstacles. They beat some really good teams. They didn't have an easy road to get there. And seeing Palencia, those tears as he got the final out, I can't wait for him to do that for the World Series.
Oh, I am stoked for Danny Palencia. I mean, if you want to look at MVPs of the WBC, and I know Danny Palencia didn't get MVP, I thought he deserved some recognition because he was absolutely lights out in that tournament. And if you look back, you look at some of the guys that he struck out in that tournament, they weren't all just scrubs or no names. I mean, look at the ninth inning of the game against the United States. Schwarber was one of those hitters. I think Roman Anthony was one of those hitters. He
Roman
got,
Anthony, who the Athletic is picking to win AL MVP.
yeah, let's not forget, he got the save against Japan, which included getting Shohei Ohtani out.
Yep.
That's that's some pretty impressive stuff. And he was consistently throwing 98, 99, 100. And you saw a little bit of that run on those 100-mile-an-hour fastballs. And you think, if that's the Danny Palencia you're going to get in the regular season, you feel pretty good. Let's hope that's what we get in the regular season because he didn't give up a run, I don't think. I don't think he gave up a run the entire WBC. He was really, really locked in.
Oh yeah, I mean he pitched fantastic, which is a good sign because yeah, like you said, it's yeah, I know there's players in there that are just going to go back to being electricians and whatever, but there's some really, really, really top tier baseball players that he pitched against.
The one dude who pitched was an electrician. You see that?
Yes.
Like that is an awesome story in my opinion. Like that is a really cool thing. But I mean, I was rooting for the US, but I'm not, upset or mad. And I know there's a lot of debate over how much some of those US guys really cared. I mean, Pete Crow Armstrong certainly did. He had a good WBC. I think that obviously, even though he didn't put up good numbers, Bryce Harper coming up with the game-tying home run was big. Really, what a lot of people are talking about is, the whole Aaron Judge folding in big moments thing. And no matter how much you buy into that narrative, this WBC didn't really help that narrative.
Yeah. Um, do you suspect the Cubs are going to make moves in the next? So season, we're recording Sunday. Season starts what, Thursday?
Mhm.
Do you expect the Cubs to make any moves to fill out this roster?
I mean, I don't think there's going to be anything major.
No, no, no. But I mean, do you think the players are under contract with the Cubs that are going to be the final uh, opening day roster, or do you think they are going to pick somebody up off waivers or anything like that, as far as like depth in infield, etc.?
The only thing I could think of is if you wanted to find a right platoon for Bush with Tyler Austin being out. And obviously, Bush is going to be the everyday first baseman, but there will be those times I think where Craig Counsell will want to go with that right-handed first baseman because right now your options would basically be Moises Ballesteros, Matt Shaw, maybe Carson Kelly, and I don't know if that's really ideal. So maybe you add something along those lines, but barring any injury or setback with anybody else, because Cactus League is done. They have two exhibition games against the Yankees, but I don't know how many of the regulars are really going to be playing in those. Um, but barring anything weird happening, I can't really think of any other holes. You have so much outfield depth on your roster. Uh, that's the only thing I can really think of, unless you can think of anything.
What? Who is going? What's going to happen with Ben Brown and Javier Assad?
I think Ben Brown has earned it. He's had a great spring.
He has.
And I know there's only so much room because every time I do a mock roster, I'm always like, shoot, I have both Ben Brown and Javier Assad on there, but I always run out of room for Jacob Webb, who is on the Cubs on a major league deal, a 1.5 major league deal, because, Palencia is going to be on there. Hunter Harvey's going to be on there. Phil Maton's going to be on there. Caleb
Colin Ray.
Thielbar, Colin Ray, Thielbar, and Hobby Milner. They're all going to be on there, and you only have so many spots. So I just think that Ben Brown has really earned it this spring. You signed uh, Jacob Webb to a major league deal. Now, Javier Assad, he came out of the game the other night with blister issues, but I mean, Javier Assad has been on this team for a while and he's been that swing guy. Though you can argue Colin Ray is probably your first swing guy at this point. So he's got
Especially
options.
because, especially because Assad has options and Colin
Right.
Ray is making 6.5 million.
Correct. Yes. Yeah. Javier Assad is in his first year arbitration has two options left. So maybe you send him to AAA. Because, I mean, with Ben Brown, he's got options too. But he's really looked good this spring, and he's looked good as a reliever. Because if he makes this team, it's going to be as a reliever.
Right.
And you can never have enough high-powered guys in there because you have Palencia, you have Hunter Harvey, and then the rest of your bullpen, you're not looking at a lot of fireballers past that because uh, Phil Maton is a heavy breaking ball guy. Javi Milner and Caleb Thielbar aren't going to be pumping near triple or at triple digit fastballs at you. So, another swing and miss good stuff type dude that you have as an option is Ben Brown.
Yep. I'm hoping. I'm kind of hoping for him to have a great season.
Yep, me too.
Just the style of pitching, it would be nice for him to just to develop into a guy that's in the circle of trust.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you never know with these damn bullpens. So, what if Ben Brown does turn into like one of the most trustworthy guys? Because you can look at the rest. Hunter Harvey's got injury issues. A guy like Phil Maton might regress. Caleb Theobar might regress. He's older. He had a great year last year, but he could stink. You never know. It's so volatile with these bullpens. So the more reliable depth you potentially have, the easier time you're going to have. I mean, hell, look at last year. We thought that, oh, your big guys are going to be Ryan Presley, Eli Morgan, uh, Julian Merriweather. None of those guys were part of the equation by midseason.
Right.
It's really just hard to project. With exception to guys like, if Mason Miller's healthy, Mason Miller might be one of the most talented, if not the most talented reliever I've ever seen. Like you see what he throws.
Mm-hmm.
It's unbelievable. So we don't really have a guy like that. We don't have a Josh Hader or a Mason Miller type dude. You have potential of guys to pitch very well. The Cubs the last year or so have done a good job of figuring that out, but what you don't want is for the bullpen to have a struggle first month or two like it did in 2014, because if you blow a bunch of games, those are going to come back to bite you. It's exactly what happened 2 years ago.
Right.
Because you figured out the bullpen eventually that year, but it was after you blew like 10 saves or whatever it was.
That's the problem is you start in a hole. So you can't
Right,
start in a hole.
right. You never want to start in a hole.
Yep. It's hard to overcome that.
Yep.
Um, so there's some interesting White Sox stuff.
Mm-hmm.
One, Corey Lee is not going to be making the major league roster.
I thought that was somewhat interesting. And they also signed Reese McGuire back, former Cub and White Sox, because I know Kyle Teal's going to be hurt. So I assume Edgar Caro is going to be the main guy back there.
I'm assuming so. Um, but Corey Lee is out of options. So they're either going to have to trade him or designate him and hope he clears waivers and then assign him to AAA. Um, I'm curious if Reese McGuire was brought in to be the replacement for Corey Lee, that they
Could
could
be.
flip him. And then, I'm not sure how long Teal is going to be out for, but
Few
uh,
weeks at least. I
yeah,
know.
I don't think it's going to be terribly long.
No.
Um, so, when he comes back, Reese McGuire can be that. With the fact that you want both of those guys to have bats in the lineup, um, it's it's nice to have that third catcher to be able to, uh, you know, give somebody a rest day and not have to have the other one catching. Just gives them little options when you have two catchers that you want every day in your lineup because of their bats.
Right.
So I do like them having a third catcher, and Reese McGuire is a low salary guy. I think he's like a 1 or 1.2 million, something like that for the 1 year. You can move on from Corey Lee. He had a nice spring. You can, you know, you could probably flip him, and if not, if he doesn't clear waivers, then, um, you know, or if he clears waivers, you just stash him away and have him for later. So that's it's going to be interesting to see how that one plays out.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, they could trade him for international money.
I would not be surprised if they did that.
The other big White Sox news, which is which has some caveats which leave me, scratching my head, is Ishbia through his shell company bought the South Loop Amtrak station, the one right across the river from the 78.
Yeah, so that is kind of a longer plot of land on the other side of the river. And I mean, it's pretty obvious what they're doing. Crane Chicago pretty much spelled it out for you that they're looking for their redevelopment stadium site and they're going to be
That's
buying
what
that
they said.
land.
But then it popped up that They still want to build at the 78.
Well, but the fire, it's the
So
fire building their stadium.
I don't think I think uh you could probably have two.
But then why would you buy the land across from the river?
That's the curious part. So here's uh Brooks Boyer told the Sox machine that the White Sox are still concentrating their efforts on the 78 despite Justin Ishbia nearing the purchase of the Amtrak rail yard, which has me picturing the White Sox building a competing ballparks on either side of the river. Uh, that so I wonder if they're planning to build some sort of entertainment type district on the one side and the stadium on the other.
Well, the only thing I could think of is, going along with that theory.
Parking lot?
Well, I'm just saying, like, if again, you remember how I mentioned earlier how it's kind of a longer plot of land on the other side?
Yeah.
Because I just wonder, it's like, okay, can you still better fit a ballpark at the 78, even with the fire stadium, and then that land on the other side is your quote entertainment district? I don't know. That just seems weird to me.
I mean, so I worked literally right there. So I walked across where that train yard is over the bridge to my office, and the office is right at the bottom of where the 78 is. Um, so like I worked right there for a couple of years, and no, that it's weird. Like it's a lot of acreage, and theoretically it's enough acreage to put those stadiums. Um, I'm I just wonder how this is all going to play out. Do the White Sox share a stadium with the Fire?
Well, don't they already have the plans? Haven't they already broken ground?
I don't know. I have not driven over there in a minute. Have they start broken ground?
I thought so.
Let's look on the Google machine.
Well, because I mean, they have the designs all there. It's clearly a soccer stadium.
Um, I don't know. I don't know what the plan is going to be, but it's interesting if that's not the play to build it across the street. Uh, yeah, they broke ground on March 3rd.
Yeah, I thought so. I saw some
So
pictures of it. Like that plan is in place. The wheels are already in motion there.
for a 22,000 seat stadium, that's a lot of seats for MLS.
For soccer, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But, maybe that new stadium is kind of just the driver saying, "Oh, hey, even if you're not the biggest soccer fan, check out this state-of-the-art new stadium in a really nice location."
Huh. You know what? Average attendance at MLS as a whole is between 21,754 and 21,988.
Does that apply for the Fire?
Let's take a look.
Now,
I
to be
mean, to be
fair,
fair,
the
the
Fire
Fire
play
was
at
in a
Soldier
shitty
Field.
location.
Yes. They play at Soldier Field, and obviously it's gonna look a lot smaller.
And then when they played in Seat Geek Stadium, like
I
that sucks
remember
to get
that.
to.
Yeah, it was actually a pretty nice stadium, but the
Oh, there's nothing
location
wrong with
was
the
not
stadium. It's
great.
just the location. It's a pain in the ass to get to.
Right, right. The 78's gonna be much better for them. So, I mean, I could see them drawing pretty well.
The Chicago Fire broke their team attendance record for the third consecutive year in 2025, averaging over 23,000 fans over 17 home matches at Soldier Field, totaling 398,144 spectators.
Good for them. I that
Early
goes
2026 data shows an average attendance of 18,359 to 28,740.
Yeah, I mean, that goes to show um it goes to show how much I've actually paid attention to the Chicago Fire. Like I knew that they've been kind of growing in popularity and I figured okay, maybe somewhere between 15, 18,000 they can get in there, but I mean the fact that they're drawing 20 plus thousand, then yeah, I think they should be able to fill that stadium. I mean, I've seen the pictures of the renderings. They look really, really nice.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. like, it's kind of smart if like your attendance is like the 21, 20, the 23 mark, you build your stadium at 22, because then you're selling out a lot of games, which makes, people get FOMO. And they're like, oh man, if this is going to sell out, I need to get them in advance. Whereas you look at like White Sox tickets, people will like, I'll just buy them day of, make sure I'm going to be able to go.
Right. Although, they get good again, then some trends will change a little bit, but I'm just curious to see how this all plays out because I don't see I mean, obviously the Ishbias are a big, big in business. They buy things, they have a bunch of business ventures, so them buying land is nothing unusual for them, but uh,
Maybe it's
don't
just
you think
speculative because they're seeing, uh, the Fire build that stadium, and who knows?
I mean that's
Um,
a I don't know. It I would be surprised if it was anything else but them building a stadium.
we shall see. We shall. Man, have you, the new Fire Stadium looks really nice.
Yeah. No, I'll go to a game there. I'm curious to check it out.
I mean, honestly, if you could put a retractable dome on that, that's kind of what I would like the Bears' new stadium to look like.
Did you see that there was another proposal for the Chicago location Bears Stadium? Like some
No,
other idea, some other rendering of it.
I haven't seen that.
Yeah, I mean it's obviously, you don't take it seriously at all, but it was just kind of funny when I saw it. I'm like, "Oh yeah, okay."
Yeah, I don't know. It's gonna be in Arlington Heights. Like that's just where it's gonna be.
Just waiting for that to happen.
Like I don't know what else. Like there's nothing else is gonna make sense. Like that's
Hammond,
just
Indiana,
they're
baby.
they're not. I literally drove through that area where they want it, and you can see all these factories with big things of smoke. It smells like burning, like it's dumpy over. Like there's no way they're going to Hammond. It's
It
literally
smells like burning.
tastes like burning. It's the stupidest thing.
I know. It really, really is. I mean, it's one of those things you look at and you're just like, is this a joke? Because it kind of is. Like it would be a century plus long joke if that's where they ended up with their stadium. Knowing that, yes, you can fill the stadium for game days. No problem. But if you want to build an entertainment hub and try to attract a bunch of people, you're going to have a harder time getting there, getting people to go there than to Arlington Heights. I'm just saying.
Arlington Heights is going to be the answer, just period. Like I don't know what
Right.
else people are like it's everything else that's not Arlington Heights is going to be some sort of uh leverage which they don't have.
No. Unless the owners at Topgolf in Naperville call them, hey, we're going to close this location. We got this land for you. You want to build out here?
Yeah, what them moving to Hammond is about as likely as the Cubs moving to Rosemont when they were renovating Wrigley.
I remember that. Because it was what? The Rosemont mayor's like, hey, we got this land. Huh? Huh? Though the Cubs would have absolutely no leverage at any point if they threatened to move because everybody and their mother would know that they would never move away from the corner of Clark and Addison. There is a small handful of teams in professional sports that have absolutely zero chance of moving anywhere. The Cubs from Wrigley, the Boston Red Sox from Fenway, the Packers from Lambeau Field. I could probably say the Dodgers from Chavez Ravine and Dodger Stadium in terms of professional sports, those are the ones I could really name. That's about it.
Yeah. Do you want to talk a little Bears?
Sure.
There's not a ton going on. This is kind of a quiet period. You'll probably see some players start to do some re-sign. I mean, contract extensions. But the Bears quietly brought back Jack Sanborn.
Yeah, after 1 year of playing with Matt Eberflus again, he finally doesn't have to play for Matt Eberflus.
It's curious. Like, I really like the Jack Sanborn story. Um, but they talked about wanting to have a focus on speed, and that's the knock on Sanborn is he's not fast.
The only thing I see is he's not physically fast, but we saw early in his career his instincts and ability to read what's going on has allowed him to get to the ball quickly, even if it's not just physical speed. That's the one way I look at it, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah, I wonder if he's going to be used situationally as like that run stopping linebacker.
Yeah, I mean that's one way I think you can look at it. I That's what they've been doing in free agency is looking for more run stoppers. I mean that's kind of been when you look at front seven in this offseason, run stopping seems to be one of the themes here. So
It
that
has
could
to
very
be.
well
It
be.
has to be. Like they've got to get better at stopping the run.
And he can close in and stop that run pretty efficiently. Again, he's not physically fast, but he could get to that spot and stuff it using his strength. We've seen success with him doing that in the past. So I don't expect him to be a primary solution, a big solution, but just a depth situational guy, like you said.
Yeah, and it makes me wonder if they like if Sewell has seen the last of his days with the Bears or
Maybe.
or is going to sink to the bottom of the depth chart.
I mean,
Um
I could see either or, frankly.
uh but looking at the roster where it stands right now is I know we keep harping on this, but it really is allowing the Bears to do pretty much whatever it is they want in the draft. Like they are not stuck having to draft somebody.
Mhm.
And other than quarterback, like there's pretty much most positions like if they took a player that fell and I'm looking at a lot of mocks and there's a guy who I really do uh like Thieneman he's a safety from Oregon. He is lightning fast. He is just a really good safety, and I'll talk about him more next week. But I've seen a couple mocks where he falls to the Bears, and he's ranked by a lot of people as like a top 10 to 12 player, and him falling to the Bears. And you're like, okay. I've seen mocks where like the offensive tackles fall to the Bears, and you're like, man, do they need that necessarily if you feel Ozzy Trapillo is going to become back at some point healthy? But if you get that good value, it's hard to pass that up. Um, the I don't love a lot of the defensive tackles in that spot, but maybe in one of the elite edge rushers can fall to you. Like there's an opportunity here, especially when I started looking at the way that this draft order is and the way the players are kind of set up, like the rankings. And there are some teams that are gonna be in a kind of crappy no man's spot where they would love to trade out because the player that they really want is either gone or they're wherever they're drafting, it's going to be too early for that player. They're not getting the value. But I don't know how much teams are going to trade up.
Mhm.
Um, so like the Jets will stay. But number three, the Cardinals. Um, you know, it's probably early to draft one of those offensive linemen. And they're not going to go Jeremiah Love. I don't know if anybody's going to want to trade up to three. Who are you trading up for? So I think Cardinals right away at number three are going to have a decision that they have to make. Do they draft somebody earlier than they would want to? Um, I'm not sure. Number four right away is do the Titans, do they take Jeremiah Love? I love him, but man, drafting a running back number four, that's a that's big. Um,
I mean, you would be drafting and finalizing like the two main tandems of your future offensively. You have Cam Ward, and then he's got his champion back there. So
oh, I mean,
that's one way
I
to look
wouldn't
at
hate
it.
it. It's it's just um, you've got a bunch of holes to fill, and it's taking a running back that early just seems like a luxury pick, and they don't seem to be in a spot for luxury. But Jeremiah Love's so good. Like
Yeah, I like that is a difference maker.
like he would be in back number one in last year's draft too.
Yes.
Um, then you look at pick six. Like, what does Cleveland do? It's way too early to draft a quarterback, and the only quarterback that's worthwhile was already long gone.
Yeah, I think they're drafting a quarterback the next year.
Um, and so like, what do they pick? Uh, you know, they depending on if do one of the edge rushers fall. Um, do you reach on a wide or a offensive lineman? They probably need to do that, but that's you're probably reaching for one of the offensive linemen. Um, what do the Bengals do? What do the Dolphins do? And they would love to trade out of there and get some value. Uh, so I think the Rams, it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. But so there's a lot of teams that that could really shake up the way this whole draft goes based on what they do when they can't trade out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, so I started making a list of players in the top 100 that I think fit what the Bears are trying to do and their most pressing needs. Um, and I'll go through, I didn't finish it. I wanted to finish it for this show, but I'll go through that next week. But like there's some players that are like, I see in these mocks and that just don't make any sense. Like smaller edge rushers, like that's not what the Bears are looking for this defensive scheme. Um, there's the uh, injured defensive lineman. Like, nope, not gonna happen. Um, like they're not gonna go tight end in the first three rounds. Like it just that seems like a overkill. Some of the defensive linemen are more of a gap guy rather than a run stopper. So like that doesn't make sense what the Bears are trying to do. So um I'm I started putting together a list of players and I'm like, I think this could fit what the Bears are trying to do. And I haven't finished. I finished with, I went position by position. I'm like defensive tackle, edge rusher, safety, um, wide receiver. And I want to add in, I don't know, what other position could they be drafting in the top three rounds? Maybe cornerback? Could go through the cornerbacks.
Especially if you don't feel great about Jalen Johnson's health going forward, even though you're paying him some money.
Yeah, so maybe I add cornerback in there. So I'm just doing like the top, players that would be in the top 100. So what we would see
Right.
them drafting in the first three rounds. That's that's kind of what I'm looking at. Because everything else after that kind of is, you're looking at like trait guys, and that's a lot harder to guess. Um, but there's a ton of edge rushers, and I just don't love all of them. There's one guy that it seems too early to draft in the first, but I don't think he's going to be around when they draft in the second. It's Kristen Miller, the defensive lineman out of Georgia. Like that dude is a monster. 6'4", 325. Um, he's that dude is awesome. Um, I think that could be a guy the Bears look at. And if they can trade into like the end of the first or the beginning of the second, that's probably a better place for him and get that value. But I'll go through some of those edge rushers and those players next week. Um, but uh, as we're going through here, I don't know how much more movement we'll see the Bears making in free agency for now, before the draft. One, I think they're going to be focused on the draft.
Yes.
Two, I think they filled most of their holes. And three, they're without making any restructures. They're like right up against the cap.
Yeah, they didn't do anything with that.
No, they will. They have to because they've got to sign their rookie class, so they'll have to make
Right.
some movements there.
I'm just
But
saying prior to the draft, they haven't.
yeah, they have not. Because they'd rather not if you don't have to. But I think you're going to see a lull in some of these because teams are there's some players that are left that could be good. They're either injured players that you're not confident about their long-term health. Some older players, you're like, when are they going to hit that wall, etc. That are or character issue guys. Um, but there are some players left on this board that are in the free agency but you're probably not going to see them go until after the draft and you see how the draft plays out and what you're able to get. And so a couple of interesting names I put together for the Bears is depending on how the draft shakes out. If they're not able to get an edge in this, uh, Hassan Reddick and Jadeveon Clowney are available. And I
Hmm.
don't think either are going to be super expensive.
No, not at this point. I mean, they're still out there.
Yeah. So those are some interesting names if you can't add an edge rusher. If you can't add another safety, Donovan Wilson is out there from Dallas, like he played with Dallas. Um, so that could be an interesting name if they don't end up getting a safety early in the draft that you feel that could step in and be a starter. And if you don't add a wide receiver, Jawan Jennings and Debo Samuel. Like those are some names that could be interesting if you can't. I mean, I would prefer to fill these things with the draft, but you look at the draft picks you have, and you've got first, 2 seconds, and a third. Those are probably those four. You're going to be your impact players that you're going to expect something from right away. And if you go safety, defensive tackle, uh, cornerback, linebacker, or say center and cornerback. You're like, okay, well, I didn't get a wide receiver. All right, well, then I could add a later draft pick and then sign like a Jawan Jennings or a Debo Samuel to a short-term deal to sit behind Rome Odunze and Luther Burden to be that number 3 guy. Like so there's some options out there that give you some flexibility if you don't love the way the draft turns out or players don't fall the way you want or you're not able to move back to get some more draft capital, et cetera, et cetera.
Yep, absolutely. I am just curious on how that first pick goes. I mean, it's a late first round pick, but it's one of those spots where you're obviously not getting the cream of the crop like at the very, very top, but you're still in position to take a very, very good player. And I mean, obviously you could find, guys that could end up being elite talents anywhere in an NFL draft, but it's interesting for the first time in several years we're not drafting high, which is, a good thing at this point. So I'm just curious to see where this goes.
It is going to be interesting uh is because what you see in the draft every year is a player fall because they go players positions go on a run is because there's teams out there, they're like, okay, I need an offensive tackle. And if you're expecting them to fall and you see two teams like back to back go, oh, we're going offensive tackle, you're like, crap, this is not shaping up the way we hope. And teams try to jump in there and get early. So they'll overdraft somebody in that run, but that leaves somebody falling. And that's the hope, is that the Bears are able to capitalize on something like that. And I don't
Hmm.
know how this is going to shake out, because there's this draft. There's, I mean, there's some really good players, but there's a lot of parity in that first like 40 picks, 50 picks.
Right.
And so it's going to be team preference, how they view these players. And I have no idea really how this is going to go. And we might start as we get closer. Um, there's multiple types of mocks you can do. There's the ones where you're looking at the the way you would do it if you could draft for everybody else. But then there's ones that you're drafting with your ears, like what you're hearing from teams or not hearing from teams, and you start picking what you think is going to happen, not necessarily what you would want or how you would do it, but like what you're hearing.
I just
And
I just picture Ryan Poles with Dumbo the elephant ears.
I mean, but that's the thing, is like, a few days before, a week or two before the draft, like the Bears organization, they're going to sit down and they're going to like war game this. Like, all right,
Hmm.
what's, how do we think this is going to fall? And honestly, it's it's really important. I say this every year, but it's really important, because when you start drafting, if that board doesn't go the way you want, people panic. And that's when they start drafting poorly,
Hmm.
because you're not prepared. Like, sure, things could go not the way you want, but you have to be prepared in that situation. You're like, okay, if let's say they really wanted Emmanuel McNeil Warren, the safety out of Toledo, and there's a run on safeties, and he's gone, Thieneman's gone, Caleb Downs is gone. You're like, okay, do we reach and get a guy, like uh, um drawing a blank on some of the other safeties. But if you want to reach on a safety that you have, like as not like Halsey, who probably AJ Halsey, who's probably like a player that's like you could get in the second round. Yeah, do you reach on him at that point? Yeah, because this didn't safety market didn't we go how we wanted. Um, you just have to be prepared. Like, all right, well, what happens if this happens this way or this happens this way, and just be prepared. Okay, um, we really wanted uh, Caden McDonald or Emmanuel McNeil Warren, and they're just both gone. What would be our contingency plan? Well, if that happens, then likely like a Zion Young falls, or a TJ Parker falls, or a Keem Messidor falls, and then we feel, or a Keldrick Falk falls, and we grab one of those guys. Um, like it just being prepared. Like, sometimes I just go through these mock drafts and I'm like, okay, this is like I'm expecting Jake Slaughter or one of the centers to be available in that third round pick. And that's what I'm banking on. And if they don't, suddenly I'm like, oh crap. Well, all that's there as best available players are positions I don't need or I've already drafted. Like if I've already got a defensive tackle and a wide receiver and a cornerback, and um, what's there is a bunch of running backs and quarterbacks. Ah, um, you know, you've got to start prepping for, could you trade back? Um, and I think you saw the Bears hit that adversity last year with the running back position. Every time they tried to take a running back, the guy got chosen right before them.
Yep.
And
Yep. It drove you crazy at the time not knowing what Monungai was going to do this past year.
yeah, I mean, yeah, it definitely drove you crazy, but that could have really changed the shape of the way the Bears drafted,
Oh, sure.
and they didn't crumble. I have to give Ryan Poles credit for that, is he had to act quickly. He either traded back to buy himself a little time, or he had players that were ready to go.
It
But
helps
I
when you have Ben Johnson in the building.
I mean, it helps too when you hit the home run on that first pick, so
Yes.
makes it easier to take the swings on the next ones. Um, so yeah, it's just you got to be prepared for all of those situations because the draft doesn't always go the way you want.
Nope, it rarely does.
And it's funny because like certain teams that the if the Eagles and the Ravens, like those are two teams that just the draft falls their way a lot, and you just go, God damn it.
Well, and I
And
think too, the Eagles, I mean, you look at what they do over there, is that they are really good at assessing what other teams are doing around them and also making deals that can better fit how they want to draft. I mean, like, hey, we want to draft one spot up or one spot down. You'll see the Eagles do that. They did it with the Bears the one time.
yeah, it's
They're good at evaluating that market.
and it's it's being good at like predicting how those drafts going to go. It helps. So if you're sitting there going, oh, I'm praying Caden McDonald falls when we want Caden McDonald, and he doesn't fall, he gets picked. You're picking 25, and say he goes 23, 24, and being prepared, like just like, all right, hey, listen, we mocked that exact situation. That the Eagles anticipated that the Bears would take him and he wouldn't be available for them to go backwards and get. So they drafted Caden McDonald. And you're like, okay, well, you know what? In that situation, we've already been talking uh, with the Jets about trading up from 33 to 25 so they can take a quarterback and get that fifth year option. And then we back up to 33. We've been chatting that up. And so now it's kind of in the queue. And oh, the player we wanted is gone. All right, let's trade back, buy ourselves a little time. Now we don't pick until we've got all night long because the first night is only the first round, and we get first pick in the second day. That gives us full time to reshape our board and see who's available and work through this process. Like it's just things like that, being prepared.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yep.
and um, that's the one part about missing our assistant GM is, I think he calmed down Ryan Poles
Well, he
and
did
from
that during the Adunze
yeah,
trade or the Adunze draft.
yep, yep. Adonze would have traded up to get him, and
Right. And Ian Cunningham had to sit on his face saying, no, stop.
yeah, and that's being prepared. You, Ian Cunningham was confident that he would be there. Don't
Yep.
waste the draft capital. He's gonna be there.
Yep.
Um, is there anything else Bears?
No, I don't really have anything else, Bears.
Um, just quickly looking through anything come through the wire. No, nope.
Oh, one more little Bears note. I know that some people are trying to force the narrative, and obviously weirder things have happened, but I mean, you're not even thinking about Max Crosby because I'm not.
No, that ship has sailed.
Yeah.
I don't think that's happening, um and that's fine. It's uh um I don't know. It's just like it is what it is. I I think they're going to be better served by drafting somebody that's going to fill a run stopper need. As much as I like Max Crosby, and it'd be nice to have that relentless guy going after Jordan Love twice a year. Um, it's uh, it's kind of you're giving up a whole lot and you're spending a lot of money. It's going to change how you shape long term. I think they're trying to be fiscally responsible. It's but you got to draft really well to make up for that.
Well, and I mean, to play off that, you you alluded to the cap. And it would be a huge, obviously, cap burden with you because you don't have much space. And I just hope that Bears fans realize that when Adam Schefter was talking about cash, they were talking about a cap situation, not actual cash. Because remember that became kind of a
Yeah,
thing.
it's like I mean, here's the thing. Could the Bears clear that money? Absolutely. Absolutely. But eventually you're kicking that money down the road and they're trying not to do that.
Right. I mean, Ryan Pace would.
Yes. Brian Poles is trying to be better, build through the draft and not through big contracts. You know, you've got a couple players in Wright and Caleb Williams that are going to be due big money soon and keep your cap in a healthy position. They're going to have to borrow a little bit from unless they expect to cut somebody or trade somebody at the I guess if they move on from DeAndre Swift at draft night, that would count for the money that they need to sign their draft picks. So, that's something they could do. But um it's uh I I don't see them making a big move at any time soon.
I don't either. I mean, there's always that 1% chance they surprise us, but yeah, I'm not expecting it.
Uh, but yeah, that leaves the Blackhawks. Um, they are going to see Frondell soon. That's going to be
Yeah,
exciting.
that is. Yep, get some time for more of the prospects, including him. That's really fun to see. Bedard has been playing pretty well overall, I'd say.
He's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Like he's playing with like no talent around him. I What is the deal with uh Burakovsky? Why do they have him on the top line? Like who does he have naked pictures of?
Well, you saw his blunder in overtime today, right?
I didn't see today's game. I just
Ugh.
read about it. But why? What's the deal there?
What is the deal with airline food and Burkowski? Yeah, I don't know. It's blech. It's just blech, in my opinion. But at least you're seeing him play really well. I think Frank Nazar has been playing better recently. Louis Crevier, I like watching him with that wicked shot that he has. So that's kind of fun. I mean, they've been playing in a lot of competitive games. Yeah, they got their ass kicked by the Avalanche, but the Avalanche are really,
The
really good.
Avalanche are
So,
really good. So
yes.
that's um don't they have the best record in the league?
Yeah,
If
they
not, it's
do.
right up there.
Yeah, I mean they're one of the favorites to win the Stanley Cup. So you're just playing a really, really good team there. But I mean, they've held their own in a number of games, even the games they lost in OT. They won a really nice game against the Wild the other day. That was the first regulation win against the Wild since 2019. Can you believe that? And that's a division team.
Yeah.
Isn't that wild?
That's
Pun intended.
wild in a bad way.
Yeah. Yeah, not good. I mean, they've had points in every game against them, but they're 0 for 3 in overtime until they beat them in regulation 2-1 the other night. But yeah, it's crazy. So yeah, I mean, at least like I said, they've been in most of these games, and even if there's still some really ugly moments, which you'd expect there to be, um, but they've given us some entertainment, like Bedard chirping the fans in Utah, sweeping Utah, that overtime goal. That was really fun. But these last stretch of games, you just keep watching the development. You keep watching some of these kids come up. We're going to see Frondell, like you mentioned before, and you just keep watching for the growth. I mean, if Connor Bedard didn't get hurt for a while, he'd be on pace for like a 90 plus point season
Oh, absolutely.
on a non-contending team.
On a team that could be drafting number one overall.
Yeah, I mean, they could win the lottery. It's still
I
possible,
mean,
yes.
they have the third best odds, so it's not like it's out of the
No, no,
question.
no, it's possible. And if it matters to you at all, they did already break their points total from last year and I think the year
It's
before.
true. It's true. Um, other than Vancouver, there's just, I mean, like Calgary is the second worst team, and like they're not terrible. Like they're not terrible. Like there's not a ton of awful teams this year.
No, and there's a number of really good teams. I mean, we mentioned the Avalanche. You have the Stars. They're really good. And a couple of other teams. But yeah, I mean, at least if you look at where the Blackhawks are now, if you get a high draft pick and at least watching this past stretch saying, okay, you're seeing more and more growth here, then yeah, you'll take that. So let's see how these last few weeks go. I'm excited to see Frondell. I don't expect him to put up gaudy numbers by any means, but it'll just be good to see him get his feet wet in the NHL.
Yeah, I mean, I don't expect a ton. He's really young and he's coming in from, his was it SHL team lost in the playoffs over the weekend. So he's coming back this week and you have no idea what you're gonna, it's his very first NHL action. I would not expect a whole lot.
Right. I agree.
Um, what I need for is the Panthers to win a couple games here. So we can get that.
Or they can keep their pick and maybe suck next year and we can get a even better pick next year.
I just feel like they're going to be better next year.
No, I agree. I agree. I agree.
Like a top 12 pick in the hand is worth, you know, uh two in the bush or whatever. I just they could be very good next year or significantly better, and then that draft pick's not as good.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I still can't believe like it wasn't publicly released or said that it was a comp pick or a conditional pick, not comp pick.
Yeah, because the last trade, yeah, that came out right away. This one, it was like a year later.
Right, it was literally like a year it was almost a year to the date, like within a week or so of like, oh, by the way, it is top 10 protected. Well, what the fuck, motherfucker? Like,
Yeah, I mean, you know what? If it was like a top five protected or something, like okay, I'm not expecting that to come through, but like a top 10 protected that's a big protection.
it's huge. It can make all the difference in the world. I
Yeah,
mean,
and right now the Panthers are sitting, they are one regulation win away from being the 12th best odds, or like the 12 seed. So they're right there.
yeah.
So they got what, like 13 um uh 13 games ish left in the regular season, and we just need them to come through with some wins here.
Yeah. That would be ideal.
Um and the Bulls stink.
The Bulls stink. Before we end the show, why don't we do our some predictions for the baseball season and
Sure.
kind of get some temperature checks here. So, first with the White Sox, over under 90 losses. I'm going to say less than 90 losses.
Less than 90.
I think that they've made enough improvements in a division that I don't think is very good with a number of really young, intriguing guys. Now, it's not to say that they don't have plenty of weaknesses. They're still growing. There's going to be growing pains with a lot of the kids. But I really, really do like some of the veteran moves they made, like getting the one reliever. Why am I blanking on his name? Um, Sir Anthony Dominguez. I
Yeah.
think that's a nice. And then, you have a real bullpen, I think. Like you have a bullpen that could
It's
be one of the better
significantly better than
bullpens.
last year.
It is. And honestly, if you look at a lot of the losses the past 2 years, you played in a lot of tight, low scoring games, but the bullpen gave it away. You're going to win more games this year because your bullpen's better. Now, the starting rotation out of the gate isn't going to look spectacular, but you have some big prospects that are starting pitchers. Noah Schultz uh, is one of those guys, and among some of the others. And I think you'll see some of those pitchers come up this year. And then, I mean, the offense, I think once Kyle Teal's healthy again, that's going to be exciting to see. I'm curious how Colson Montgomery is going to do this time around. I mean, he put up ridiculous power numbers in such a small sample last year. There are some holes in the swing, and there's going to be some adjustments, but I think the talent is there for him to be a very productive hitter. I don't know what you think on him.
I think the White Sox have a whole lot of young hitters that could really change the trajectory of this team. We saw this spring that the White Sox have been able to score runs. Even if their starting rotation isn't exceptional, um, I feel like just keeping them in the game, scoring runs, and the improved bullpen should get them a whole bunch more wins.
Yeah, it'll definitely help improve their overall record. I wonder too, just looking at this lineup, I'm thinking, where is most of the power going to come from? I think Muni is going to be your top candidate for home runs. And I think that 30 plus is definitely on the table for him. I don't think he's going to be your best overall hitter per se when it comes to on base and average, but that you're not getting a high average type guy with Mirakama in the majors most likely. He's got some swing and miss, but if you get a 30, 40 home runs, you won't care. Just as long as he hits the ball out of the park, you'll take some of the strikeouts and whatnot.
His spring has been really good.
It has. It has.
I know that doesn't always translate into regular season, but I do, it does make you feel good that he's not overwhelmed by major league pitching.
Yeah, I think he'll be a very valuable asset for the White Sox. I really do. And I think that even if there are some stretches where he struggles, he's going to work out of it. And I think that there's going to be some growing pains there, but the good is going to, at the end of the day, outweigh a lot of those growing pains. I mean, growing pains are just part of any young team. You just have to expect it.
Oh, you're going to see that, but with a professional player, sure, it's not at the major league level, but it's still he's playing professional baseball. You hope that those ups and downs are a lot more even keeled than with a young player that's never consistently faced major league talent.
Right, right.
That's you hope that all of the professional experience in Japan helps him, you know, keep that ship going at an even keel.
Yeah, absolutely. I know if you're going to look at some of the weaknesses, you look at the strengths and weaknesses, at least on the opening day roster, again, it's going to evolve so much through the season. You're not really looking at the outfield right now. I mean, Austin Hayes is a solid veteran. Obviously, Benintendi, who's such a freaking weird ball player. I don't get what he is. Some years he hits 300 and like no home runs. Other years he has like a 280 OBP but hits 20 home runs. I mean, he's just really there until he's not. So, if you get the Benintendi the last 2 years who could pop the ball out of the ballpark on occasion, that's pretty much what you expect there. But I think with much of the production in the outfield, you're just waiting on some of those kids to come up.
Yeah, and I think Acuna has had a nice spring. I think you're gonna see him win that center field spot.
I would imagine so.
I know he's not a natural center fielder or a switch hitter, but he's played well. I think he's earned that spot, and give the kid a chance to play every day in a with a low pressure.
Right.
Um, so I'm excited. So what's the next question then? I think we both are agreement that the the White Sox are going to be better than 90 losses, which is a big
Yes.
step forward.
It's a huge step forward considering where they've been. It is a very, very big step forward and a very welcomed one because I think in 2027, if there is a season, they could be a legit playoff contender. Assuming, everything goes right and, there's obviously no setbacks or no major injuries but I mean I think they're going to have a lot of talent by then. And then they have to make some moves too. So you got to rely on all that. But I think they're on the right path to being really, really good again. You just have to go through some more growing pains, but I really do think that they will be getting there. Now for the Cubs. I put out a poll shortly before we started this show, so I don't have a whole ton of votes, but I just asked people like, how are you feeling? The options were great, pretty good, okay, a bit sus. So right now, I put this up 2 hours ago. 59 votes have come in. 23.7% say great. A majority, 54.2% say pretty good. 15.3% say okay. 6.8% say a bit sus. I'm putting myself in the pretty good but not quite great category.
What are the can you read the categories slowly again?
Great, pretty good, okay, a bit sus.
Uh, I'm going to say I'm not feeling great. I can rule that one out. I'm also not feeling a bit sus. And so that leaves me with two. I mean, if I could put a third one, I would say on the low end of pretty good, on the high end of okay.
Mhm.
Um, I'm going to say based on their roster, pretty good. But when you factor in the rosters of some of the teams in their division, I'm going to say okay.
I gotta tell you, I think the Pirates and Reds are going to be a problem this year.
I think so too.
I think the Pirates, with that young fireball rotation and some of those bats they added, I'm not saying they're going to win the division, but they're not going to be that pushover they once were. And the Reds, I know they had a bit of a blow with Hunter Green being hurt, but that's still a really good young rotation. And if they hit the ball, they could be a dangerous team. Now, I don't think they're a spectacular defensive team. I'm not sure how good their bullpen is going to be. So they definitely have their flaws, but they have a chance to be legit competitive again. I mean, they won 83 games last year, which is just above 500, but I mean, thanks to a really bad choke job by the Mets, they did make the postseason. But yeah, I think they're going to be a pretty solid team. And then the Brewers are always just, pulling rabbits out of their hat. The only team I'm not worried about is the Cardinals, which I never thought I'd say in my life.
Right?
But the Cardinals are intentionally not trying to win. So they're rebuilding this year. Yeah, I think it's going to be a tough division. I really do.
I think so. And that's why I moved them to okay.
Yep.
Um, there's, I mean, honestly, there is a path where I see this team just being really good. Justin Steele comes back and looks strong. They stay healthy. Guys hit how you expect them to hit. You're not hit by the injury bug, the hitters. Um, and the Pirates sort of fade because they can't add at the deadline like they want. and the Reds maybe, you don't get the performances that you expect. Like, okay, though, like those are all things in the realistic realm that could happen. But also on that same realism realm is Justin Steele takes longer to come back than you expect, has some setbacks, and when he does come back, doesn't, it takes him a while to get up to speed. You lose another starting pitcher to a fairly long-term injury. Saya's on the DL a lot. Moises Ballesteros, is up and down. Ian Happ is his age is catching up to him. PCA, it looks more like the low end hitter than the high end hitter that we saw last year. Like, there's just a lot of real, and things go well for either the Reds or the Pirates, and they get a big lead by the All Star break. Um, so I'm gonna say okay because they have not played a game yet. And until I see a reason to be super excited, I'm going to be cautiously optimistic.
Yeah, I mean, I think on paper, the Cubs have a really nice roster. I do wish that they had one more just top of the end elite dude on both the pitching and hitting side. Like, I'm excited as hell Alex Bregman's here. I don't know if Alex Bregman is going to be quite the producer offensively he once was. I do know he's still going to be a good defender and he's going to be a great leader for that clubhouse. And he'll put up some solid numbers offensively, but the all-star caliber, I don't know if that's really there anymore. I'm a little worried about that. I mean, you don't have an Otani. You don't have a Judge, honestly. You don't have a Juan Soto. I wish they had a hitter of that caliber, and I wish they had a pitcher. I mean, who wouldn't for any of these guys? But I wish you had like a Tariq Skubal or
Paul Skeens.
or a Freddie Peralta or a Paul Skeens or a Yamamoto. Just a pitcher is going to be like a top five dominant force in baseball. When we had in prime Jake Arrieta, when we had in prime John Lester, you have a deep pitching staff, you have some really nice pitchers, but none of these guys are anything like that. They're just not.
And it's true. It's true. But I mean, they have enough pieces where, if you told me that you had a crystal ball and you're like, yeah, they go to the World Series. I mean, they have enough talent where I could be like, okay, I
It's in
see
the realm
that.
of possibility.
Yeah, it is well within the realm of possibility. Does it make it the most probable thing? No.
No, because the Dodgers exist.
The Dodgers exist. Um, there's some really good teams out there. They're in a tough division, but it's in the realm of possibility.
Yeah,
It's
right.
not one of those things like, oh, the odds of the Bulls winning the Derrick Rose lottery. Like that's not, I mean, it happened, but it's such a low probability. I think the Cubs making it to the World Series is a significantly higher probability than that, but I'm not going higher than maybe 6%.
Right, you're not looking at this through the same lens you looked at the team 10 years ago in 16, where you felt like you were the favorite to win the World Series. We're not at that level, but them winning the World Series is still in the mix. It's a possibility. I would say in the National League, they maybe have the third or fourth highest odds to win the World Series. I think the Dodgers are definitely, I mean, they're ahead of everybody. Then you can debate where they are in terms of relations to teams like San Diego and Philadelphia and the Mets. I think those are kind of the tier you're trying to debate where you're in within that realm. Because I think the Phillies have that postseason experience and firepower, but that core is aging a little bit. The Mets have a really good lineup on paper, even though they've shuffled some things. But is their pitching going to be good enough? I'm not as sure about that. Are the Braves going to rebound a little bit? I mean, you look at a team like the Padres, that is a very worthy team to go to the World Series with the pitching they have, the bullpen they have, the lineup they have. I mean, there's a lot of possibilities with them in terms of talent. So I think
Would
you're
you
within
like
that realm.
would you like to see the projections for uh winning the division, postseason, World Series, etc.
Lame on me.
Um, so the Cubs, 43.1% chance to win the division. Pirates at 27.4, Brewers 20.1, Reds 5.8, Cardinals 3.6.
Wait, so they have the Pirates above the Brewers?
Yes.
Wow. Well, I look at the Pirates, man. I mean, Brandon Lau and Marcelo Zuna, they added those bats to that lineup. Yeah, Paul Skeens, Bubba Chandler, good bull. That team, it's not without its flaws, but
No, no, and the thing that always gets me with like a Pirates and a Reds is do they have the ammunition and the stones and the cap flexibility if something goes wrong to go all in to replace it? Like if they lose a Paul Skeens, are they going to trade for a frontline starter to bolster?
or are they going to add another big bat
Yeah, if
to that
if
lineup?
yeah, are you going to do that? Like do you that's where you separate the big market teams from the small market teams. Are they willing and able to do that?
Well, that's valid. I mean, that's absolutely valid because remember when they made back-to-back wild cards in 14-15?
Yeah.
Remember when the Cubs beat them in 2015, the wild card game, they won 98 games that year. The Pirates did. But that was with what they had. They did not go out and further bulletproof that team. And then next thing you knew, Jake Arrieta ended their season in 3 hours. And then
Yeah.
they never recovered.
And that's the thing is you if you can't bulletproof your lineup, you can't add big time replacements, that hurts and you've everything has to go right. And they have the talent. Like the talent's there. Like the Pirates are a good team on paper. Just putting it all together. Odds to make the playoffs. Cubs 62.2, Pirates 47, Brewers 37.4, Reds 13.2, Cardinals 8.7.
They really have the Brewers that low.
Yep. World Series, Cubs 3.7%, Pirates 2.2, Brewers 1.5, Reds 0.3, and Cardinals 0.1.
The Brewers are going to find a way, aren't they? I mean,
The
everything should tell you that they're going to have one step back year before they bring up some of their top prospects, which the Brewers farm, by the way, is absolutely loaded.
It's not the Dodgers though.
I mean, nobody's the Dodgers.
The Dodgers, they're hold on. So looking at this, if you take the Dodgers out of the equation, the NL leaders in World Series winning chances. It's the Mets 7.7, Braves 7.4, Phillies 5.6, Cubs 3.2, Pirates 2.2. If you look at the AL, Mariners 8.9, Tigers 6, Yankees 6.2, Red Sox 4.5, Blue Jays 4.6, Orioles 3.5. Would you like to know what the Dodgers World Series win percent chance is?
Is it like 15 something?
27.3.
Wow.
27.3. Their chances to make the postseason 98.8. They have not played a game yet. That
This
is what
is
the Fangraph odds are here.
this is a league that has 30 teams. A league where you see 4 rounds of playoffs now. That's crazy, but I get it. I get why it's so high.
Yeah, if you
Wow.
change it from Fangraphs to um, the oops, come on, Fangraphs to FG War, it changes the it changes from 27 to 26, but it makes the Cubs go up. So it's makes the Cubs go to up to 4.1, but in the Dodgers 26. It's like all of these projections just ATC. What does ATC have? They bumped the Mariners up to 10, Cubs to 4.2, Dodgers 29.7. What about the Bat X? They have the Phillies at 9.1, Cubs at 3.8, Dodgers at 29.6. OOPSY. Mariners at 12.2. They really love the Mariners. Dodgers 27.1.
There's a lot of bullishness on the Mariners this year. That's for sure.
Let's go with coin flip. Coin flip. Everybody is at 3 1/3. The only one the Dodgers aren't just absolutely above 25%.
Wow. I mean, I get it. They're stacked, and they're going to be even more stacked by the deadline.
Yep. They're what the Yankees, we all thought the Yankees were.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, really, the one thing that gives you some sort of hope if you're not the Dodgers at winning is we know what a short series can do to any team.
Oh,
One
absolutely.
bounce, one performance can change everything. I mean, the Dodgers were nanometers away from losing that World Series twice.
Yeah. Was there anything else you want to talk about?
No, I think I've said my piece. Just hoping that Illinois can keep making a run in this tournament. They're in the Sweet 16, so keep it going.
Yeah. I have in my pool a Michigan versus Michigan State final.
That would be something.
That'd be interesting. All right, but that's going to do it for this episode of Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago. I want to thank everybody so much for listening. Please hit subscribe however you listen to podcasts, whether it's iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, Google Play, Spotify, etc. Share this podcast with your friends. That's how we grow the show. Follow us on social media at Swerski Sports, Facebook.com/Swerski Sports, SwerskiSports.com, or Swerski_sports_podcast on Instagram, or ShyFanPat2 for Alex on Twitter /X, or AlexanderJPatCreative.com for all the cool stuff that Alex does. And again, thank you all so much for listening. And until next time, bear down.
Cubs win! What a lucky break! The good Lord wants the Cubs to win!
We thank Ditka and God for all they have provided.
Cubs win! Cubs win! Cubs win!
Oh, I don't want her. You can have her. She's a Packer fan. She can't fit in my van.
And she looks like number New Yorkers. Smoking crack is not legal on planes. Bears 31 to -7. The Bears. Oh, when the Bears go bearing down.